Replacing the controllers on your Grizzly can be a frustratingly tight job, but in this video we'll show you how to do the job with the minimum amount of time and confusion. To replace the controllers, you'll need a 3mm hex wrench, a 10mm wrench or preferably socket with extension, a Phillips screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, pliers, cutters, zip ties, tape, a marker, and at least 8 feet of cable, string, or fishing line. You'll first need to remove both batteries. Then remove the seat to gain access to the controllers and connectors. It's a good idea to take pictures of everything, and at a minimum, label the battery connectors so they're hooked back up in the correct order. The remaining connectors are each unique and easier to figure out when you're reinstalling the controllers. Unscrew the rear battery tray and slide it back to give yourself some room to work. If there's a grommet installed, uninstall it for extra maneuvering space. Disconnect all the cables and push them out of the way. The last 2 cables run all the way to the motors and will need to be pulled through the frame. Disconnect each cable entirely, then attach the cable or fishing line with tape or in another way that won't pull apart halfway through the frame. It needs to be strong enough for moderate tension and also streamlined enough to avoid snagging on interior edges. It'll make things a lot easier to also tape a fishing line to another wide cable, like the display cable. Push it a few inches into the frame while pulling the cable from the opposite end to make some space for the motor connectors. Now pull each motor connector out. If your controllers need to be shipped back for replacements, label each fishing cable for each controller after disconnecting it and leave it in place. With new controllers in hand, connect the motor cables to the fishing cables. If you forgot which is which, the left side controller has more wires than the right and runs to the rear motor. Once the cables are reattached, the easiest order is to push in the down tube rear motor cable first, pull out the display connector, then push in the top tube front motor cable last. If prying the cable connector out, only pry against the outside to avoid bending pins and connectors inside the connector. Make sure to feed the cable in as you pull the line from the other side. Reconnect all the cables. The remaining black 2-pin connector is used for programming and doesn't have anything to plug into at this time. Reinstall the grommet if installed. Reconnect the motor cables and make sure all the slack is secured inside the frame. At this point, it's a good idea to reconnect the front battery and test the bike for any loose connections. Screw the rear battery tray back in, then coil the extra wires and tuck them in place. Reinstall the seat, making sure not to pinch any wires while tightening the nuts.